As well as being able to create macros, we're really going to want to be able to get rid of them as well. Otherwise, we're going to end up with macro after macro being built up in our personal file or in each of our workbooks and not have a clue how to remove them. Let's take the sample macro file, sample-macro.xlsm, so it's a macro-enabled workbook, and we want to remove the macro within it. Now this particular file contains a macro that runs off a keyboard shortcut, Ctrl-Shift-S, which types today is and you are the best. But I'm fed up with this macro, I don't need it anymore, I want to remove it. So I go to the macros button on developer, which gives me the list of macros. There's a macro I want to remove, command sample. This is why your macros need sensible names other than macro 1, 2 and 3, because you don't know what they do if you just call them 1, 2 or 3. If you select a macro and it has a description, it will appear here, so the description would be useful. And then to delete it, with it selected, there is a delete button on the right. If you want to delete the macro, command sample, I do, and it's gone. So if I were to try run it again, let's select a cell over here, Ctrl-Shift-S, nothing happens because the macro has gone. So that's straightforward for deleting macros contained in the current workbook. If, however, I go to macros and I see there are 3 others, type my name, type guy, which is in the personal one, and I don't want that anymore, I can choose that and delete, but I can't delete it because it's a hidden workbook. I need to unhide the workbook first. So OK, cancel this dialog box. If we go to View on the ribbons, there is an option for Unhide. If I click Unhide, it lists any hidden workbooks, and the only one currently hidden is the personal.xlsb, which is opened every time I open Excel, but in a hidden format. So I go OK, let's unhide it. Now I can go back to Developer and Macros, and I can see the 3 macros contained within this file, which is the personal file, and I can remove type guy. Are you sure you want to delete the type guy? Yes, I am. Now there are 2 things we now need to do because I've unhidden personal macro workbook. I could accidentally use this as a normal book and effectively destroy my personal macro workbook. So the first thing I need to do is to save it. So the fact that I've now got rid of that macro is actually saved. And then I need to re-hide this workbook. Vitally important that this workbook is then re-hidden. So we go back to View, Hide. And the personal macro workbook is then hidden again. The macros are still available. If I look on the macros list, I still see the 2 that I didn't delete, but I don't see the type guy one. So to remove macros from your personal macro workbook, you firstly need to unhide that workbook. View, unhide, OK. Then I can go through the process of deleting, which is the same as if it was in a normal book. Find the macro in the macro list, delete. And then vitally important, I must re-hide the personal macro workbook, otherwise it will remain unhidden and I could accidentally use it as a normal file. I say that because I have done myself in the past. So it's vitally important that you re-hide that personal macro workbook. Apart from that little caveat, the deleting of macros is really quite easy to do, and you are asked if you're sure, so there is that step in place to make sure you don't go around deleting the wrong macro.